I dub thee a nerdy knight of the round, sworn defenders of all who oppress the nerd. Now, on to the round table. Listen to what they say, for their words will guide you.
It's another nerdy night as my round table joins me, Ben, the ridiculous Riddick, alongside my co-host Sam, DJ Fluffkins Chen, as we discuss the nerd culture of yesterday and today. Our special guest tonight is no one, because, it's Sam and I.
But we're powwowing tonight. We're powwowing.
Exactly. It's a fireside.
We're getting close. We're getting close.
We have a great show planned for you guys tonight, including topics like Pokemon's 20th anniversary and the leaked NX information. But first, the
news. Capcom announced this week that it's planning on rolling out severe punishment for rage quitters in Street Fighter V. Five?
Yep.
Apparently, to preserve your win streak, you can simply quit the fight. I'm just hoping there's going to be no punishment for severe button mashing, because that's the only way I survive in Street Fighter.
Yeah, I mean, they should really make a mode where you can play against a simulated button masher, Sam.
Can you imagine someone like rage quitting because they lost against a
button masher?
Simulated button masher?
Dude, button mashers are the worst.
Whatever.
It's like you're sitting there and you're like,
who's got time to learn moves, Ben?
Dude, you just pick one character, and you're fine. That's what I do.
All right.
But I'm also terrible at fighting games, so there's that too. Just like a 16-year-old who just got their license, Google's driver AI has gotten into a minor accident. The AI, who was recently determined to be a real boy, hit a bus while merging after navigating around some sandbags. The accident happened at 2 miles per hour while the bus was going 15 miles per hour. Whoa. Slow it down, guys. Getting a little too fast here. The obvious problem was that the bus was driven by a human.
See, now I'm just curious when the Google car is going to flip the bird or honk at someone else, because I think that has to be realistically programmed in for it to be a driver.
This is true.
Like, can you imagine being in New York and the car doesn't honk?
Don't forget the retaliation tailgating. When someone pisses you off, you just tailgate them. I think they need to program that in too.
I like that. It's going to be good. Well, the internet breathed a huge sigh of relief last night as Leonardo DiCaprio was finally awarded an Oscar for his performance in The Revenant. This victory was short-lived, as the internet soon realized it had to give up all its Leo never winning an Oscar memes.
Yeah, but we've got the Leo versus the bear memes, right?
Rawr. It's not the same, Ben. It's really not the same.
Okay. I'm sorry. Sony announced that you can pre-order its upcoming 4K HDR Ultra HD televisions, because that's not a mouthful, further proving that when your company has become irrelevant, all you need to do is add more descriptors.
So you mean next week's show will be the super nerdy ultra high def radio hour?
I think we should change our name right now. That's it. So let's just really piss Mike off and add this incredibly long name to the show.
I like it.
Do you?
I do.
Are you going to tell me about New York City's Toy Fair?
Sorry. New York City's Toy Fair had an exciting announcement for Office Warfare fans all around. Hasbro announced that it was releasing a Nerf gun packing 40 foam rounds and pelting your coworkers at a blistering 68 miles per hour.
You know what this means, right, Sam?
Yes.
Next year's Extra Life will take a last man standing format, Battle Royale style.
Team Sam.
Team Ben. Hashtag Team Ben.
We'll have viewers donate to get extra bullets.
Oh, God, that'd be awesome. It has to happen now.
Yeah.
Do you have eyes? Do they like being tracked? Well, the PC version of Ubisoft's The Division will get full eye tracking, giving you the ability to bring into and out of focus HUD elements like your minimap or even tagging enemies just at a glance. This is great until your wife wants you to take out the trash and you leave cover during the middle of your firefight.
Solution, man. Just take out your eyes.
And give them to
you don't need them. You don't need them. That's what VR is about, right? You don't need your eyes.
Right.
That's how VR works. Speaking of VR, PlayStation VR is getting a release date for its release date. Gamers across the land will be paying close attention to Sony come March 15th. I personally am just looking forward to Ben being completely wrong about the pricing for the PSVR.
Insert witty remark here.
Well done, Ben.
Thank you.
Well done.
Thank you. Microsoft recently released the Fetch app, allowing you to take a simple snapshot of your canine critter while it identifies what breed your pup is. The internet responded immediately by identifying President Obama as a basset hound, Vladimir Putin as a German shepherd, and Angela Merkel as a collie. Rough or smooth?
My personal favorite is Kim Jong-un as an Afghan hound.
Which I really don't get.
It makes no sense.
Like,
He does not have
little.
no hit. Like, he's not Cher. I mean, like, let's get real here. Let's get real.
Exactly.
Luigi proved once and for all that he reigns supreme. YouTuber Omega Tyrant released a video showing Luigi beating every single Smash Brothers new DLC character without doing anything. The best part was they were all level 9 AI.
See, I told you Final Fantasy VII sucks. Cloud is worthless.
Yeah, Cloud is worthless.
You know,
He's just an emo punk. Emo. No more emo.
we're going to come back to that statement that I just made after the news.
Oh, okay.
And finally, this week, Warner Brothers is changing its movie strategy because it thinks Marvel fans are too stupid to understand the complex themes within movies. In other words, expect Batman vs. Superman Dawn of Justice to be really bad.
What's a Batman?
Who knows?
Who knows?
Batman Spider-Man.
Well, that's it for this week's news. If you didn't hear it here, it wasn't nerdy enough or funny enough for me to care.
Okay, so let's get into our next segment. This is our active quest, and this is why I wanted to kind of be angry at Sam, because as you know, Sam writes the news, and I, of course, did not read the last two news things before we started the show. I read everything else except the last two. And my active quest is this last week I started playing Final Fantasy VII.
Oh, yes. Finally.
And I guess that's as far as I'm going to say because, you know, we're doing Mike's Let's Play podcast with it, and I don't want.
You don't want to ruin what you thought about it?
Exactly.
I'm going to watch that.
We're not done yet, so we've
There's still time.
We've recorded about 4 total hours worth of content.
So you're like nowhere.
So I mean, it'll be fun. It'll be fun for sure.
I'll take your word for it.
What have you been doing, Sam?
So, it was before the show, like 2 weeks ago. I downloaded Metal Slug Advanced or something like that, and it's basically the freemium Metal Slug game. It is incredibly addictive. They basically took every good addictive element in freemium games, put it in there, and then didn't remind you that it was freemium. So there's not the like, hey, you want to give us money? You want to give us money? There's none of that. And there's a ton of content you can do for free, which is horrible because it means I like never touch my PS4. But the other thing, and I just wanted to give a special shout out to our friend Lexi. Hunter Pence was on
Fuller House.
It was hilarious.
It really was.
And I think it's better for us just because we're like, oh, we know his fiance, but he's dating this girl.
Yep. No, I watched all of that in 2 days.
2 days?
Yeah.
That's horrible, man. I did it in like one night.
Well, I got tired of sleep.
It's only 6 hours.
I know.
Only 6 hours. Although I'll say, I feel like I need to buy a pizza fork now.
Yeah.
and wear it with me.
And wear it with you all the time.
Pizza fork.
Pizza
do
fork.
it.
Watch
All
Fuller House so you can get that joke.
Does he actually have a pizza fork? I really want to know. I really hope he does. I really hope he does.
We can find out. We have the means.
We have the tweeters.
Yeah. let's get into our first topic of the night, Sam.
Okay.
Actually, I'm going to ask you, what do you want to talk about? I'm just kidding. Pokemon is our first topic. This last, what was it, 2 days ago, the 27th, was the 20th anniversary of our best friends, the Pokemon. And I thought it would be very appropriate for us to kind of talk about Pokemon.
You contribute.
And I think the first thing I want to start with, Sam, is your memories of Pokemon. So tell me, what kind of Pokemon fan are you? Are you trading card game? Are you Game Boy game? Are you the anime? What are your fondest memories of Pokemon? Go.
So, my first memory of Pokemon was my Game Boy Color. I believe it was Game Boy Color. The color was teal. And I think I got blue because my friend got red. It's like the only game I had for that Game Boy. It was just ridiculous. And I played the hell out of it. I love Pokemon. It's one of those, like, as a collectible guy, like, I just think it was just so amusing. I did play the card game for a while. I think we talked about during Extra Life how little kids ruined the card game for me.
Mm-hmm.
Not that I was much older at the time, but no, I think it was really about playing the games. It was about trading. It was about, like, man, there's an exclusive on each thing, so I need to get it so my friend can trade me and we can get exclusives and collect them all. And the show. Oh my God, the show.
Dude, the show, so good. Talk about the life lessons you learn in that show.
Oh yeah. I will say, I think
I'm gonna take all of my parenting advice from that show. All right, you're 10 years old. Go out into the world. Go do whatever the fuck you want.
I mean, it's great. It's great. I love it. What about you, Ben? What's your first fondest whatever memory?
So, I mean, my first memory is also on the Game Boy, but it wasn't the Game Boy Color because the Game Boy Color wasn't out yet when I got blue. And my parents got me the Game Boy, and it was the Game Boy Pocket. So it was the smaller Game Boy, not that big giant clunky one, and it was the one that was clear that you could see through, so you could see, like, all the technology inside of it. And they got me both red and blue. I immediately opened up the blue, put it in the Game Boy, and I mean, I don't think I ever stopped playing that game. I imagine.
Did they realize you couldn't trade with yourself on the same Game Boy?
I don't think they actually realized that they were two different, that they were pretty much the same game.
Yeah.
So they got both. And shortly after that, I got into the trading card game, and then I got into the anime because, friends of mine would sit down, we'd trade cards, battle, and watch the show at the same time. It was actually, one of my friends had a VHS tape.
Woo!
Of, like, you know how they grouped the first 5 episodes and then the next 5 episodes and all that? It was like essentially a graphic novel, but on VHS.
Yeah.
So it was that. And I mean, my biggest thing with Pokemon is my family and I traveled a lot. We moved a lot, and we were always on long car rides or plane rides and things like that. So this was the thing that I did on all of those trips. And it even got to a point, we were doing a trip to the Keys, to the Florida Keys, around my birthday. So my parents got me an early birthday gift, and it was that it was this thing that you plugged it in on top of your Game Boy Pocket, and it was a magnifying glass, so you could magnify the image, and it was a light.
Nice.
Because back
You got all the cool accessories.
the Game Boy Pocket didn't have, like, a backlight or anything like that.
Oh, that's right.
So you had to have some sort of light to be able to play it.
I need to play at night, guys. Okay, Ben, question.
Go for it.
And we're not talking strategy here, okay? So this is pure out of the box.
Okay.
Who was your starter Pokemon?
My starter Pokemon, my very first playthrough of
very
starter
first
Pokemon,
starter Pokemon.
Bulbasaur.
Yes.
Yep. And
Same.
and here's the thing. I did not realize how good a starter Pokemon Bulbasaur
Oh yeah.
was.
Oh yeah.
Because I mean, the first two gym battles you go through are weak to grass type Pokemon.
Yeah. Exactly.
Because you've got Brock and the rock types, and then you've got Misty and the water types, and they're both weak to grass. So it's like those first two were a breeze. And Recruit says that Blue is the best girl, I guess.
Blue.
Pokemon Blue.
Ah.
Um, going every game after that, though, I think I pretty much chose fire for every starter after that, except for X and Y, where I chose water. Because fucking Froakie, man. That Froakie's a badass.
Yeah. No, I was definitely Bulbasaur. I was I liked his style. I liked his style.
Yeah, that Solar Beam.
Yeah.
Solar Beam and Mega Drain. Those were my two favorite moves of Bulbasaur's. Especially when you get to the Elite Four and you're like freaking out because you can't go to a Pokemon Center between battles and all that. Ah,
Yeah.
good times. Did you ever do any of the cheating stuff to get like Missing No and
Ooh.
and Mew?
I definitely think I'm like 90% sure I did.
All
I
right.
definitely think I did.
So here's something that I want to talk about because they re-released Red, Blue, and Yellow,
Okay.
and I think that's fantastic. I've been playing
Woo.
Yellow, and what's great about it is they left all of those glitches that you can do in the game.
It's awesome.
To an extent, like the PC duplicating glitch is not there, but you can still break the game and go get Mew, and do stuff like that, which I think is just awesome. So I can't wait to do that because I never actually got Mew, so I'm looking forward to trying that. And no, I'm. But how do you feel about them re-releasing the originals, Sam?
I mean, here's the thing. Like Pokemon was never the game that I wanted to replay. And I kind of don't really understand why. Because like I must have replayed Earthbound a dozen times, Final Fantasy VI a dozen times, and those are much longer games than the originals here. So I mean, I don't know what it is. Like what makes you want to replay it? Like
I don't,
especially because there are new games. So it's not like you can't get your Pokemon addiction anywhere else, right?
Right. I think a lot of it is the nostalgia.
Okay, sure.
I mean that is the major thing about it. I think one of the really cool things that they did is they integrated the ability to use the Pokemon Bank app. So the Pokemon that I catch in here, I can transfer to the newer games.
Oh, okay. Well, that makes sense.
So I think that's awesome. And I don't know, there's something about the charm of the originals that just really it hits me right in the feels.
Right in the feels.
And I mean,
Okay, as a kid, were you ever able to recite all 151?
as a kid, yes.
Okay.
I could not do it now.
Oh, yeah.
Like, and not only could I recite all 151, but I could recite them in order.
Yeah.
But
stupid things we do as kids that have absolutely no value.
And then in high school, they made me memorize the periodic table.
Oh, God.
So all of that went away.
Yeah.
I replaced the original 151 Pokemon with the periodic table of elements. Yay! Good thing because I use that so much in my head.
Yeah. You could have just put like Pokemon equivalents, you know?
Oh, that'd be so cool. Someone should remake the periodic table with Pokemon in it instead. I'm going to do that.
Do it. Do it.
Dibs. Internet, I called dibs on that. You can't do it before me.
It's okay. I think that doesn't take any work.
Yeah. The other thing that they announced was the next Pokemon game. Or pair
This
of
is like
games.
Star, Sun, Moon, something like that.
Sun and Moon. Which I'm stoked about. I'm gonna totally do that. Get all 151 Pokemon on Yellow, and then transfer a bunch of them over to Sun and Moon, which will be great. And I really love.
That's not coming out till like the holidays, though, right?
Right, end of the year.
Okay.
Is the projected
You
release?
have plenty of time to get your 151.
Oh yeah. Recruit says he was the little kid who erased my cousin's save data. Pokemon Leaf Green. Recruit,
I was so pissed.
You are an asshole. No, but I'm excited about Sun and Moon. I'm okay with all of the random shit that they keep adding into the game. I think some of the stuff that they added with X and Y was really cool. Mega Evolution is just a little broken, but some of the features they added, like the Wonder Trade system, where it's the Pokemon lottery.
Sure.
You drop a Pokemon into the trade system, and someone else drops a Pokemon into the trade system, and randomly around the world, you're trading random Pokemon.
That's
it was actually really neat because there were websites like Bulbapedia, and stuff, and people like that who would essentially. They would breed for the shiny Pokemon, get a group of them, and say, "Hey, at this time we're going to be dropping 10 shiny Froakies into Wonder Trade."
Wow.
So, and that kind of stuff was cool. And then the trade system that they added, Sam, was really neat because it's all it's really neat because essentially you can deposit a Pokemon into the trade system and say what you want to trade for it.
Okay.
So no one can take that Pokemon unless they're trading for the Pokemon that you want.
Sure.
Which I thought was a neat system.
Sure.
And essentially you could check on it, and it was really easy to do. And then they added friend safaris where each person has a type safari. So like my safari, if my friends went into my safari zone, they would find only steel type Pokemon. And that each one had only 3 different kinds of Pokemon. But it was neat, and it added Pokemon from previous games. It added it added some of the Pokemon that you can only get in the other game and stuff like that. So it was actually really neat. And there's a whole subreddit, r/friend safaris, where you can essentially find all of that.
See, it's interesting because like all of the stuff you're talking about is why I stopped playing, to be completely honest. Like I feel like they started to make the game so complex. So like I think the thing is like I'm okay with grinding through a game and getting the stuff that I want to get.
Mm-hmm.
But like if it's like time of day of week, all this other stuff and I don't know when they introduced this, and I actually don't even know if it's still around. That just turned me off so much because I was like, I don't want like a player's guide to play Pokemon to get everything I want.
Mm-hmm.
And I think that's a gaming style thing, right? Like,
yeah.
There's nothing in the game that says I need to get all of the Pokemon.
Right.
But that's just how I liked playing it.
Exactly.
And then all of a sudden it became like infinitely more difficult to do it. So I don't know.
I mean, I understand. I think a lot of it is it's such a big part of my growing up that it's kind of stuck with me. And every time a new Pokemon game comes out, I look and I'm like, I want that. That's why I went and I got myself a 3DS because they were on sale at GameStop.
How much?
$175 for an XL. The new 3DS XL.
I feel like at some point I can probably just convince my little sister to give me like a hand-me-down.
Yeah. Well, I mean, the other thing is I traded in my Vita for it. But
Do you not have a Vita?
don't worry, because Amazon is selling Vita TVs for $47.
Oh, the PSTV?
Yeah. So
Isn't
there's
that how
that.
much they're regularly worth?
No, they're usually 100. Or they
With
started
the
at
controller,
100.
with the controller. Yeah.
So that's cool.
No Vita. Oh.
I played one game on the Vita, Sam. One game. You know what that game was?
I feel like you're like one of the people who convinced me to get a Vita.
I probably was.
That's so disappointing. Now I got to get rid of my Vita.
No, you have to play Persona first. I
don't know about that.
You have to play the only game that I ever played on the Vita.
No, I will say there are definitely some fun games that I've played on the Vita.
Yeah, and I have played other games on the Vita, but Persona is the only one that I can ever think of when people ask, so what games do you play on the Vita? Persona and Persona. A little bit of Persona and Persona.
Yeah.
But no, I am a big fan of the Vita still. But there are other ways to play the Vita that are cheaper.
No, it's fair. I mean, it's just the portability, right?
Yeah, but again, the Vita I played mostly at home.
Yeah,
And I would play. I am more likely to play games like Pokemon and Fire Emblem on the DS on the go than I am.
Well, sure. Yeah, you just need one portable console. I get that.
Exactly. Let's move on to our next topic, Sam.
What's our next topic, Ben?
Our next topic comes from
the internet.
the internet. There was a leak about Project NX from Nintendo.
You mean that system I'm not getting?
That system that I'm gonna get. I mean,
It's
really,
okay.
It doesn't.
I just need one of my friends to have it, and then I'll just play it.
Yeah, this is true. Especially if things go your way, Sam. Especially if things go your way.
So excited. Okay.
So I'm gonna list off these features for you and for the listeners on
Sorry.
in the
I recruit.
and for Mike, because I can't hear Mike anymore in my ear because somehow Facebook chat disconnected us. Ooh. So I've been running this show all on my own. Well, except for the
no. Sad
face. I've been doing the talking part all on my own. All of a sudden, I have a feeling our stream just went down because Mike was like, "Fuck this," and walked away. No, so I'm gonna read off these features. There are 5 here, and the leak. The leak is actually a really reliable leak. Okay. It's the same leak that told us there would be a new type of Pokemon in the new game, and that new game would utilize the full 3D engine. This leak also told us that Pokemon would get new abilities and forms, like Mega Evolutions and so on and so forth. So it is this leak is very well known for giving us information that ends up being true from Facebook.
I believe you. Okay. I believe you, Ben. I have faith.
So he does say, and quote, "These are some of the only few hardware info I know," and end quote. So allegedly, quote, "It has a wireless HDMI dongle that attaches flush to the back of the device. A user can pull it out and insert it into any display with a normal-sized HDMI output, and the device uses an evolved version of the Wii U streaming tech to display in HD to the TV screen." So essentially what I get from this, Sam, and you correct me if you think it's something else. I get that this is a handheld device, like the Wii U gamepad, that has essentially a Fire TV dongle or like Google Chromecast dongle that you plug into a TV and stream to.
Yeah, I mean, it sounds like that's what it is. If you're really curious, I mean, like obviously the technology out there, right? Mm-hmm. Like we have wireless HDMI.
Yeah.
So I'm sure it should be able to perform just fine. It'll just be about how they interact with it. But it sounds cool. It actually does sound kind of cool.
The tech sounds neat. I just hope that I don't need to get like 5, 6 of these NXs if I want to have a group play.
So here's the thing, and this is me not knowing jack shit about the NX. Sorry, me not knowing that much about the NX.
Yeah. None of us know it that much.
If the pricing is at a level that's almost like, in the 3DS, whatever their handheld units are, but it's in a console mode, I would probably consider buying one, to be completely honest. Like, if you told me this was going to be like
175, 200,
175, and I got to play with my friends and I could play on my own, like, I might consider it. Depending on the commitment that I really need in order to do it. If it's like, all right, Ben buys the game, but we all have the pads.
Yeah,
maybe.
So here's feature number 2.
Ooh.
Quote, allegedly the analog controls for movement has small motors in them for full haptic feedback, meaning if you control a character and hit a wall, the sticks move away from the direction of that wall to simulate running headfirst into it. This can also be used for jerking when firing a gun, taking damage, moving over rough terrain, etc. End quote.
Sure.
That's cool.
Put that in your VR pipe and smoke it.
Yeah, I mean, So here's the thing. One of the reasons I like the Xbox One controller more than the PS4 controller is the haptic feedback on the triggers.
Sure.
Like the triggers on the Xbox One controller are super slick and super awesome.
Yeah.
And Recruit wants me to know that dongle is a dumb word.
Ben's a dongle.
Yeah. So, I mean, I think it could be pretty cool. I mean,
yeah. Honestly, I'm like, with the way that these like smaller motors and all this other stuff's happening, like, I think it could be cool. Like, I think more devices are going to get this sort of action. I mean, I don't know. Have you interfaced with any of the Apple devices that use like Force Touch or 3D Touch or anything like that?
I have not yet.
It's great. Like go to an Apple store at some point and play with like the new MacBook, right? The one that has like the digital or the motor and the touchpad, and then turn off the MacBook and see what it feels like without it. Like, it makes you feel like you're clicking stuff. And I think like once you realize you can get motors that small and that precise and that usable, you're like, I want to see it more here. Like, I don't want vibrations out of my controller to just be like, "Arr."
Right.
Like, I want it to feel like I'm going up against something if I like turn in one direction.
Exactly. And I mean, we used to see this all the time in the really good like racing controllers.
Yeah, absolutely. Oh yeah.
So that's cool. Feature number 3, quote, it can literally Bluetooth sync with everything, especially smartphone and tablets, to the point where one feature is that it can answer phone calls and display text messages from your phone onto the screens itself, so you don't have to stop and answer your smart device, end quote.
It'd be so great if it was like only iOS compatible.
Oh, that would be so hilarious. Or all of a sudden, at the same time as NX, Nintendo announces the Nintendo phone. Nintendo phone.
I'm going to put it right here on the show. If Nintendo releases the NX and the Bluetooth sync only works with iOS at launch, I will buy one. Okay. Just out of pure humor. I will buy one.
Lee and I are already waiting for the pre-orders to come out so we can pre-order that shit.
Is it worth pre-ordering that sort of stuff?
I mean, to make sure I get one on release day, yes.
Yeah. Okay.
And Nintendo, they're not going to make enough for everybody.
Yeah. I hate giving people my money early. I actually
Well, so you do it on Amazon. You don't give them your money early. You just reserve a ticket for free.
That's fair.
Which is exactly what.
Look, Ben, I have not bought a console in this age where it wasn't just widely available.
PS4 was not widely available at launch.
Yeah, but I didn't get it at launch.
Fair enough.
It's not worth getting at launch to me.
Feature number 4.
4.
Quote, the closest in terms of power it gets to is the Xbox One, but an app idea is Wii U times 50 and PlayStation Vita times 100. The key is that all the tech is exactly the same hardware layout as the PS4 and Xbox One, which then combine it with the OS's strong emulation functions and compiler, means that any game that can run off of a PS4 or Xbox One can easily run on the NX with near zero modification to the original source code, especially if it runs an Android OS or Unreal Engine 4. This is allegedly why Nintendo has given out the dev kit so late, as one third-party developer put it, quote, it's the easiest device we've ever developed for. You just take your code, compile it, and it works. End quote, end quote.
I'm not gonna lie, this is like super exciting.
Yeah. So that means games are going to come out for this console.
Yeah. Oh yeah.
Like if that's all people have to do, games will come out. I mean, there's so many games already that use the Unreal Engine.
Oh yeah.
It's like
I mean, there's so many times where I'm just sitting on my couch playing something on my iPhone. And if you're telling me that they will make it's easy to just port something over from that, like, sure, I'll play on a bigger screen. Sounds good to me.
Yeah.
Oh, by the way, it tells me what my phone does. Perfect.
Why not?
That's really. I think it's something that we've talked about with Nintendo, or the industry's talked about with Nintendo in general, right? Is that like they're good at doing certain things. They're not good at doing other things.
Right.
And so if they just focus on the things they're good at, boom. So yeah, I think it could be I think it'd be pretty cool.
I'm really excited, and one of the things that I'm really excited about the NX, Sam, is that it's a lot of the drafting ideas was still Iwata.
Sure. Yeah, absolutely.
So I mean, we're still going to get something from Iwata. What, 2 years after his? No, I guess a year. A year after his death.
Sure.
So I think I think that's something that's awesome. Mike in the chat is saying, but a lot of this is stuff that Nintendo does not. And you know, I do tend to agree with you, Mike, but this is one of those things where my fanboyism kind of makes me a little biased, because this is going to be a console that I get and use regardless.
Yeah. I mean, I think there's a thing that it's along the lines of my faith in Nintendo to an extent is similar to my faith in Apple, right? In the sense that they usually just make stuff that works. Now, does it have applications, features, support, all this other stuff that I really want in a device and a console? No. That's why I don't have a Wii U. But I'm sure the Wii U works fine.
Yeah, I think it does.
Mike does say he would agree with me unless if it were 10 years ago. That's fair. I mean, to be completely honest, this is me fanboying from Wii, right? Like, that's with the Wii is basically 10 years ago, right? Roughly.
Yeah.
Roughly.
Roughly.
So yeah, okay, that's fair. That's fair. I mean, the Wii U could have sucked a lot. A lot.
It really could have.
You guys have to tell me.
And then the last feature that it mentions, quote, look to Pokemon Go to get the idea of the type of social features that will be in the NX that will take multiplayer, AR, and Street Pass concept to a whole new level. The real strengths of the device is its usability and ease of use. I feel like those are the same thing. Developers have described to me more than once that it visually and functionally looks as if Samsung and the Nintendo 2DS had a baby, in that it looks friendly, but unlike what most people visualize a Nintendo device to typically look. The operating system, named Nintendos, alone is very powerful and has so many modern features of mobile operating systems today that Nintendo is trying to be very careful in showing it off for fear that it would be mistaken as running Android. It also has a very strong networking function as it ties into multiple devices and services, allowing a very competent and pervasive ecosystem designed to constantly involve the consumer's lives, end quote.
See, here's where I think they kind of get in trouble, right? Like, there's articles now about tablets as a category dying.
Mm-hmm.
And this strangely sounds pretty close to a tablet. So I think it's gonna depend on how they execute with kind of games, basically, right? The products that surround this, which isn't, to be fair, is Nintendo's problem always, right?
Right.
Yeah, this actually, like, it kind of scares me, you know?
Yeah.
Like, oh, we're gonna have a mobile console. I just won't have any real phone features on it. Like, do I really want that?
Now, I put in a picture in the chat, Sam, of a possible NX controller.
Ooh, I see. This is a patent. I'm assuming.
Yeah, and it looks really weird. Like I don't know how I feel about it, but I mean I don't see actual thumbsticks on it.
Sure.
Unless
Maybe you're just swiping.
unless 18A and 18B are thumbsticks that protrude from the screen. But I mean, it's a very...
I mean, it could because of the haptic interface, right?
Right, that's true. So, I mean, I'm very interested to see where this console goes. I'm wondering if this is going to be something that they think is going to replace the 3DS. And that they're... I mean...
Good question.
I mean, that I feel like that would be cool. I would love to play a Pokemon game in my hand and on the TV.
Yeah, I mean, I think if somehow they can bridge that divide, it's probably pretty good. I hope they're not just trying to bite off as much as they can. Like that, it almost feels like that.
Yeah.
It almost feels like that. So...
And I mean, so this picture is also on the stream right now for the chat to be seeing, and for you YouTube video viewers to be looking as well. There look to be what I see. So I see the two thumbsticks. I see the. So it looks it's shaped very similarly to a PS4 controller. With a screen on it.
Sure. If a PS4.
And
oh,
longer.
You know what? Okay.
You see
That's
the...
fine. I see what you're talking about now.
Yeah, it's not just the screen.
Okay, yeah.
I
didn't realize what those little dippy things were.
Yeah. It doesn't... I mean, it looks like they're focusing a lot on a touchpad. And I don't know how I feel about that, because it's the main reason I don't game a lot on iOS. Because I like actual buttons. I see 20A and 20B as actual buttons, and I see the thumbsticks, but I don't see anything else that would be that.
Yeah, I know what you're saying. I like it though. I mean, I like. I'm really curious. Basically, when we got the announcement that they're going to move a little bit into mobile, like what impact that had on the development of this, what impact it had on, like, what are they trying to learn?
I feel like, I don't know. Strike Manta in the chat mentioned having a controller with a screen and whatever. The Vita used, and whatever. The Vita used with the PS4, that was a raging success. I imagine that sarcasm right there.
Yeah, well, I mean, like, the Vita just didn't feel... It's not comfortable. It doesn't feel good, like the way a DualShock 4 does.
Right. I do agree with that.
Sure glad I have that touchpad at the top of my PS4.
Yes,
I can spray paint with it. Yeah.
That's the only thing that I think I've actually used the touchpad for.
I mean, there's always stuff where you like have to touch it to do stuff. I think like Killzone, Shadow, whatever Recruit had something that you did with it.
Shadow Recruit.
Is that what was the Killzone game?
Wasn't it Shadowfall? No, I don't know. Yeah, Shadowfall. I was right. Okay.
Shadowfall. Okay.
Okay,
sure. Yeah.
So I mean, And Recruit mentions that this was an old patent when it came out, so it is likely to have changed since, but still very interesting.
Yeah, I mean, it sounds like they're doing cool stuff. It sounds like they're doing cool stuff. The thing with me and portables, and specifically with Nintendo portables, is like it just seemed like they got to a point where the social aspect was a necessity. Like in the sense that like you don't really enjoy the console unless you're using it in a social sense. That just felt weird for me. It really did feel weird for me.
I don't know. I felt like Nintendo consoles were always about the social aspect of the console. It's like even the older consoles, the SNES, the NES, all that, they were like, okay, put 4 people in front of your TV and play this game.
I mean, in that sense, yeah, no, but I'm saying like,
I think it's just evolved as technology has evolved.
okay, so maybe you can explain this to me. So I had a friend come out for a Magic whatever tournament out here, and he was like, "Oh, I've got to bring my DS because once I'm in this room, I can do something where I can make a bunch of friends or get a bunch of points." Sure, okay. What is that?
So it's actually it's a neat function on the DS. It essentially it talks to other DSs within a certain vicinity of you.
Huh.
And I mean the biggest thing that I liked about Street Pass is there were puzzles that you could collect.
Sure.
And you could only get tiles from other people who have gotten tiles.
Sure.
So by bringing your DS with you and running into other people that had a DS, you would collect these puzzle pieces. I would do it a lot when I was taking classes in college. I would just bring the DS with me, and at the end of like my anthropology class, I'd open my DS and there'd be like 6 people waiting to Street Pass with me. And there were these like different games that you could play. The puzzle one was big, and then there was like this like dungeon crawling one.
Sure.
Where you had to collect people that you ran into to help you go into dungeons and beat monsters.
Yeah.
So I mean, there were some really cool features right like that, and I mean, it didn't require an internet connection. It was just DSs talking to each other.
Yeah, I mean, I get functionally what it does, but it got to a point where it felt like I had to do that if I was gonna enjoy a DS.
No,
And it just didn't.
It was such a small part of the DS.
All right, that's fair. That's fair.
I mean, and there are some games that would integrate it as well.
Sure.
Yeah. Recruit says, breaking news. Turns out the NX is just a Nintendo console amiibo.
Yes, Amiibo. I'm
Um,
all about the Amiibos now.
I mean, do you think this is the point where... Do you think this is going to save Nintendo?
Last ditch effort. I don't know. Like, I guess my question is, like, if I'm sitting at Nintendo, like, what am I really thinking my goal is going to be with anything, with the future of Nintendo?
Yeah.
You know, like, I maybe there's a point where it comes down to like, okay, we're just going to make portable consoles, make portable console games, and eventually we'll code it in a way where it's compatible, it's cross compatible. Like I kind of wonder if that's what they're doing now, saying like, by making games compatible with our system, we're also making our system compatible with others. Maybe that's the play.
Yeah. Strike Manta in the chat is asking, or saying Nintendo needs saving, question mark. And I have to say, yes, Nintendo needs saving after the Wii U. For sure. I mean, the Wii U has sold, oh God, I don't even remember what the number is,
Like
but
the
it's
Xbox One in Japan. No,
well,
I'm just kidding.
I mean, the Wii U has sold less consoles than the PlayStation Vita.
Wow.
Which is ridiculous, absolutely ridiculous when you really look at it. Yeah. So I'm looking at a story from July 19th, 2015, and they had finally passed 10 million units sold. Um, when, let's see, Sony announced that in March of 2015, they had sold 20.2 million units.
Yeah.
And it had been out a much shorter amount of time. So yes, I think in the console space, Nintendo needs quite a bit of saving.
Well, and I'll just point out here, as a finance nerd, I went and looked up the stock, right? So it peaks like right before '08, right? So yeah, there's the financial crisis, but like it was trading at 80 a share. It's trading at 17 right now.
Yeah.
Like it maybe kind of had a peak in 2010, but then back down. I mean, at the end of the day, I think shareholders are looking for returns, and gamers are looking for excitement, and you gotta deliver on both. Because here's the thing, I think people who buy DSs and buy these handheld Nintendo products are going to continue to buy them, right? The real question is, can you get new people to buy them?
Yeah.
Can you get the Sam Chens of the world to like get off my ass and buy a console, whether it's physical, like a big console or a portable console?
So Strike Manta brings a quote in here. I don't know exactly where it's from, but essentially it's saying that Nintendo is worth 700 million more than Sony. Um, when I say that Nintendo needs saving, I don't mean they need financial saving in that sense. They need to win back the hearts of people like Sam and Mike in the chat and your average Joe Schmo, because the Wii U was not understood to even be a new console by a lot of people. They thought it was just an add-on.
I thought it was an add-on.
Yeah. I don't
Or I thought
blame.
it was like an upgrade version.
And a huge part of Nintendo's business is their portable console. Their portable business is great and has always been great, and somehow they always seem to sell millions of copies when you look at the NPD numbers at the end of each month. It's like every single person out there that already owns a DS is going out and buying 5 more.
Yeah.
I mean,
It really feels like that. It really
that
does.
is something that astounds me. Every month I look at NPD numbers and I'm like, well, Nintendo DS sold another 7 million copies. Wow. So, it's you can have a lot of money and still be in trouble.
Sure.
But
I'm actually trying to look up Sony's stock stuff. But,
Sony stock stuff. I actually think now that we're getting into the financial portion of the podcast, that it's a good place to end for the night. So, guys, thank you so much for joining us. Remember, you can find us all over the internet. You can find Sam Chen pretty much everywhere as You can find him pretty much everywhere as DJ Fluffkins. That's right, DJ Fluffkins. And yes, you can really find that everywhere. And a very special thanks to Mike DeMarco for making this show look as wonderful as it does, keeping the lights running, essentially, and all that sort of stuff. You can follow him on Twitter at Mike V. That is MAIKV. I think I will probably sit in the chat for a little bit after the show, because Strike Manta, I want to continue this line of conversation that you've got going on. You can also follow me on Twitter at BRidiculous. That's BRIDDICKULOUS. You can follow everything Nerdy Nights related at nerdy_nights and on our website at www.nkrn.org. Remember, Nerdy Nights Radio is live on Twitch every Monday, as well as YouTube Gaming, at 7:30 p.m. Pacific Time, and you can be a part of the show by participating in the chat like Strike Manta did, like Mike Dame did, like Recruit 10B did, and like Agent Hardwire did. Remember... you can also find the show split videos on YouTube at Nerdy Nights. And, of course, you can find it on your favorite podcast subscription service of choice. Thanks again, everyone. It has been an excellent night. And I officially dub the Nerdy Knights of the Round. Go out and defend the realm of the Nerdy Knights, and until next week, remember, it's dangerous to go alone. I don't know.